Hey everyone, I'm Madison, and let me tell you, growing up as the backup child in the Parker family was like living in someone else's shadow 24/7. You know that feeling when you're always second place, no matter what you do? Yeah, that was my entire childhood in a nutshell. My sister Savannah was everything I wasn't. Blonde, bubbly, and basically mom and dad's golden ticket to bragging rights at every PTA meeting. While I was this awkward brunette with braces who actually cared about grades, Savannah was the cheerleader who could barely spell catastrophe, but somehow everyone adored her anyway. The thing is, I'd gotten used to it over the years. Being the smart one, the responsible one, the one who never caused drama. It became my identity, you know? I figured that's just how families work sometimes. There's always going to be a favorite, and I wasn't it. Whatever, right? But graduation day changed everything. We were both graduating. Me from valedictorian status at State University with my business degree, and Savannah from her community college cosmetology program. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with cosmetology, but the way my parents acted like we were both getting Harvard MBAs was, well, let's just say it was typical. I'd worked my ass off for 4 years. Dean's List every semester, internships, leadership positions, the whole 9 yards. I even landed this incredible job offer at a Fortune 500 company in Chicago. Meanwhile, Savannah was planning to work at some strip mall salon called Bliss and Blowouts, or something equally ridiculous. The morning of graduation, I was in my cap and gown, nervous as hell, because I was giving the valedictorian speech. Mom was running around taking a million pictures of Savannah, gushing about how radiant she looked. Dad was adjusting Savannah's cap for the 100th time, making sure her blonde waves were perfectly visible. And me? I was standing there holding my speech, practically invisible. That's when it happened. Mom was going on and on about how proud she was of both her girls, when Savannah laughed and said the words that would haunt me forever. "Oh, please, Mom. Madison's just the backup child. You know, in case I mess up really bad." She said it like it was a joke, with this little giggle. But her eyes were dead serious. Mom and Dad laughed. They actually laughed. Standing there in my graduation gown, valedictorian speech in hand, I felt something inside me just snap. 22 years of being second best, of watching my achievements get overshadowed by Savannah's mediocrity, of being treated like I was lucky to even be part of this family. It all came crashing down. But instead of crying or screaming or having the breakdown they probably expected, I smiled. A real, genuine smile. "You know what, Savannah? You're absolutely right." And in that moment, looking at my perfect sister with her perfect life and her perfectly oblivious parents, I made a decision that would change everything. I was about to give the speech of my life, but it wouldn't be the one I'd written. Hey guys, if you're loving this drama already, smash that like button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe because trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happens next. This story gets absolutely wild, and we're just getting started. So there I was, standing at the podium in front of 500 people, looking out at a sea of graduation caps and proud families. My parents were sitting in the 3rd row, beaming with what I thought was pride for me. Savannah was right there next to them, still smirking from her backup child comment. I cleared my throat and began. Thank you, everyone. When I started writing this speech, I thought I'd talk about perseverance, about how hard work pays off, about following your dreams. But today, I want to talk about something else. About what happens when your own family shows you exactly where you stand. The crowd got quiet. Real quiet. You see, I've spent my entire life being the responsible one, the smart one, the one who never caused trouble. I got straight A's while my sister got, well, let's just say she got other things. I studied abroad, she studied boys. I landed internships, she landed in detention. I could see my parents' faces starting to change. Dad looked confused. Mom looked mortified. But Savannah was starting to look pissed. And through it all, I kept telling myself that love isn't a competition, that families support each other, that maybe, just maybe, if I worked hard enough, achieved enough, proved myself enough, I'd finally be seen as more than just the backup plan. My voice was steady, but inside, I was shaking. 22 years of suppressed anger was pouring out of me. But this morning, my sister reminded me of exactly what I am in this family. The backup child, the insurance policy, the consolation prize. The gasps from the audience were audible now. I could see people looking around, some pulling out their phones. This wasn't your typical valedictorian speech, and everyone knew it. "So, Savannah," I said, looking directly at her, "this one's for you. Thank you for finally giving me permission to stop pretending that being treated like an afterthought is normal. Thank you for showing me that no amount of achievement will ever make me matter to people who've already decided I don't." I paused, letting that sink in. To my fellow graduates, work hard, dream big, but remember, choose your audience carefully. Some people will never see your worth, no matter how brightly you shine, and that's on them, not you. I folded up my prepared speech and looked back at my family one more time. "Mom, Dad, I got that job in Chicago I told you about. I start Monday. Don't bother calling. I'll be busy building a life with people who actually value me. Peace out." I dropped the mic, literally, and walked off that stage like I owned the world. The auditorium erupted. Some people were cheering. Others looked shocked as hell. I could hear my mother calling my name, but I didn't look back. Best part? The whole thing was being live-streamed for families who couldn't attend. That speech was about to go viral, and my picture-perfect family was about to become internet famous for all the wrong reasons. But honestly, I was just getting started. Y'all, I had no idea what I'd just unleashed. By the time I got back to my dorm to pack, I was moving to Chicago that weekend, not waiting around for more family drama. My phone was blowing up. The graduation live stream had already been clipped and posted on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Backup child was trending. Valedictorian revenge was everywhere. Someone had even made it into a meme with my face photoshopped onto various mic drop gifs. But the comments? Holy shit. The comments were everything. Queen behavior. Finally, someone said what we've all been thinking about toxic families. This girl just ended her entire bloodline with facts. Parents really thought they could treat her like garbage and she'd just take it forever. My phone started ringing nonstop. Mom, Dad, even Savannah, who never called me unless she needed something. I let every single call go to voicemail. Then the text started. "Mom, Madison, honey, you're upset. Come home so we can talk about this. Dad, that was inappropriate and embarrassing. Call me now. Savannah, you're such a dramatic bitch. Hope Chicago treats you better than your own family did, lol." That last text from Savannah, that was my confirmation that I'd made the right choice. But then something interesting happened. My phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. "Madison Parker? This is Jennifer Walsh from Good Morning America. We'd love to have you on the show to discuss your graduation speech that's taken the internet by storm." Wait, what? Turns out, 3 major news outlets, 2 talk shows, and about 50 podcasters all wanted to interview me. My backup child speech had struck a nerve with people across the country who'd experienced similar family dynamics. I was getting messages from strangers sharing their own stories of being the overlooked kid, the scapegoat, the one who could never do enough to earn their family's love and respect. One message particularly got to me. "Thank you for saying what I've never had the courage to say. I'm 45 years old and still trying to prove myself to parents who will never see me. Your speech gave me permission to stop." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about my petty family drama anymore. This was bigger. So I did something that would make my parents absolutely lose their minds. I said yes to Good Morning America. The GMA studio in New York was nothing like I expected. Bright lights, cameras everywhere, and makeup artists who could literally transform anyone into TV-ready perfection. I felt like I was in some alternate universe where Madison Parker, the backup child, was suddenly the main character. Robin Roberts was super sweet during the pre-interview. "Just be yourself," she said. "Tell your truth, my truth." God, I'd been hiding my truth for so long, I almost forgot what it felt like to speak it. When we went live, Robin didn't waste time with small talk. "Madison, your graduation speech has been viewed over 10 million times in just 3 days. What made you decide to go off script and speak so candidly about your family?" I took a deep breath. "Robin, I think a lot of people can relate to feeling invisible in their own families. I'd reached my breaking point. When someone calls you a backup child on what should be one of your proudest days, you realize that no achievement will ever be enough for some people. Have you spoken to your family since the speech? They've called and texted, but honestly, 22 years of being treated like a consolation prize doesn't get fixed with a phone call. My phone had been buzzing all morning with notifications. The story was everywhere. CNN, Fox News, even international outlets were picking it up. Your backup child had over 2 million posts now. But the craziest part? My family was trying to control the narrative. Savannah had posted this long Instagram story about how I was twisting things, and how they were a loving, supportive family. She even posted old photos of us together with captions like, "Madison has always been dramatic, sisters. Sister, family love." Mom went on Facebook with this whole post about how hurt and confused she was, painting herself as the victim. We've always been so proud of both our daughters. I don't understand where this anger is coming from. Dad stayed off social media, but I heard through the grapevine that he was telling people at work that I was having some kind of mental breakdown from college stress. The audacity was unreal. But here's what they didn't expect. Other people started coming forward. Family friends, neighbors, even some of my high school teachers began sharing their own observations about how differently Savannah and I were treated growing up. Mrs. Peterson, my old math teacher, posted on Twitter, "I taught both Parker girls. Madison was brilliant, hardworking, and constantly seeking approval she never got. This speech doesn't surprise me. It was a long time coming. My parents' perfect family facade was crumbling in real time, and the whole internet was watching. That's when I decided to take things to the next level. You know what they say. When people try to gaslight you publicly, it's time to bring the receipts. And honey, I had 22 years worth of receipts. I started with the college fund situation. See, what my parents never mentioned to their Facebook friends was that they'd promised both Savannah and me college funds since we were kids. When it came time for college, they gave Savannah her full fund for community college, which cost maybe $8,000 total, but told me I'd have to take out loans for my state university education because it was more expensive than they'd planned for. I posted the bank statements. All of them. Turned out, they'd used most of my college fund to pay for Savannah's car, her cheerleading expenses, and get this, a family vacation to Hawaii that I couldn't even go on because I was working 2 jobs to pay for textbooks. The internet went absolutely feral. Then I shared the birthday photos. Every year, Savannah got these elaborate themed parties, princess parties, spa parties, Sweet 16 with a DJ and professional photographer. My birthdays? Pizza with immediate family, and maybe a cake from the grocery store. But the photo that really broke people's hearts was from my high school graduation. There's Savannah, center stage, posing with my parents, even though it was my graduation. I'm literally cropped out of half the photos from my own ceremony. One Twitter user summed it up perfectly. This family really said Madison is just an extra in Savannah's main character story, and thought that was normal. The support was overwhelming, but it was also heartbreaking to see how many people shared similar stories. Thousands of people were posting their own family photos and experiences with the hashtag #OurBackupChild2. But while I was getting validated by strangers on the internet, my family was spiraling. Savannah posted a crying video on Instagram, claiming I was ruining her life and that she was getting hate messages. Mom was sending me novels via text about how I was destroying the family and embarrassing them in front of everyone they know. Then Dad did something that honestly shocked me. He showed up at my dorm. I was in the middle of packing my last boxes when there was this aggressive knocking on my door. I opened it, and there he was, red-faced, angrier than I'd ever seen him. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Madison?" "I'm moving to Chicago, Dad. Like I told you I was." "You're making us look like monsters on national television." I just stared at him. "I'm not making you look like anything. I'm just telling people exactly how you've treated me my entire life. We gave you everything. Food, shelter, clothes, education. You gave me the bare minimum required by law to not get arrested for neglect. Congratulations." He was quiet for a moment, and for a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, he was going to apologize. Maybe he'd finally see how much damage they'd done. Instead, he said something that made my blood run cold. "If you don't stop this nonsense and come home right now, you're no longer our daughter." And that's when I realized I had one more card to play. "You know what, Dad? I'm glad you said that, because there's something I've been keeping to myself for months now, and I think it's time everyone knew the truth." His face went pale. "Madison, don't. Remember last Christmas when you guys were so disappointed that I couldn't come home because of my internship? The one you said I was choosing over family?" I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo. "This is why I really couldn't come home." It was a picture of me in a hospital bed, IV in my arm, looking absolutely exhausted. I was in the ER with pneumonia, alone, for 3 days. I texted Mom about it, and she said she was too busy with Savannah's Christmas pageant to come. Dad's mouth fell open. "I almost died, Dad. The doctors said if I'd waited another day to come in, my lungs could have failed. And when I told you guys about it afterward, you know what Mom said? Well, why didn't you go to the campus health center first? We could have saved money on the ER visit. I'd never seen my father speechless before, but there he was, just staring at me. I have the medical records, the text screenshots, everything. So when you're ready to tell people I'm no longer your daughter, just remember that you stopped being my parent a long time ago. He left without another word, but I wasn't done. The next morning, I posted one final thread on Twitter that would end this whole saga once and for all. Thread: since my family is determined to play victim, here's the complete truth about what it's really like being the backup child. I shared everything. The pneumonia incident, the college fund theft, the graduation photos, but also the smaller things that had slowly killed my spirit over the years. How they forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. How they missed every single one of my academic award ceremonies but never missed Savannah's cheerleading competitions. How they introduced me to people as our other daughter, while Savannah was always our pride and joy. The thread got over 500K retweets and 2 million likes. But more importantly, it started a conversation about emotional neglect in families that apparently thousands of people needed to have. Child psychologists were sharing it, family therapists were using it as examples in their practices, and support groups were forming for people who'd experienced similar treatment. I'd accidentally started a movement. But the best part? My new employer in Chicago saw everything and sent me the most incredible email. Madison, we've been following your story, and we're even more excited to have someone with your courage and authenticity on our team. We believe people who can stand up for themselves will stand up for what's right in business too. I was finally free, y'all. Free from trying to earn love that was never going to be given. Free from competing in a game where the rules changed every time I started winning. Free from being anybody's backup plan. And honestly, it felt amazing. Moving to Chicago was like stepping into a completely different world. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who didn't know me as Savannah's sister, or the responsible one, or the backup child. I was just Madison. No baggage, no expectations, no comparisons. My apartment was this cute studio in Lincoln Park that I could actually afford with my new salary. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every decision was 100% mine. I'd never realized how suffocating it was to live in a space where your opinions didn't matter, until I finally had my own space. Work was incredible. The marketing team at Harrison & Associates was full of brilliant, driven people who actually valued intelligence and creativity. My first project was developing a social media strategy for a client. Ironic, considering I'd just gone viral for calling out my own family, but I was good at it. Really good. Within 2 months, I'd increased their engagement by 300% and landed them 3 major brand partnerships. My boss, Rebecca, started giving me bigger accounts, more responsibility. People listened when I spoke in meetings. They asked for my opinions. They treated me like I belonged there. It was everything I'd never had at home. The best part? I started making real friends. Not people who knew me as someone's little sister or felt sorry for me, but genuine friendships based on who I actually was. There was Jake from accounting, who shared my obsession with true crime podcasts. Sarah from HR, who dragged me to yoga classes that kicked my ass, but made me feel amazing. And Monica, this badass senior manager who took me under her wing and taught me everything about navigating corporate politics. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. But of course, my family wasn't done trying to control the narrative. About 3 months after I moved, I got a call from my Aunt Linda, Mom's sister who'd always been kind of the black sheep of the family herself. Madison, honey, I need to tell you something. Your parents are telling everyone you had some kind of mental breakdown and that's why you said those things at graduation. I wasn't surprised, but it still stung. They're saying you were on drugs or something, that you've always been jealous of Savannah, and this was just you acting out. And what do you think, Aunt Linda? She sighed. Honey, I've watched how they treated you for years. I tried to say something a few times, but your mom would always shut me down. Said I didn't understand because I didn't have kids of my own. You could have said something to me. I should have. I regret that every day. But Madison, I'm proud of you for finally speaking up. It took guts, and you deserved better. That conversation gave me closure I didn't even know I needed. Meanwhile, Savannah had apparently dropped out of cosmetology school, not because of any backlash from my speech, but because she'd been failing most of her classes anyway. She was back to living at home, working part-time at a local boutique, and according to Aunt Linda, causing all kinds of drama because she couldn't handle not being the center of attention anymore. Karma's a beautiful thing sometimes, but honestly, I barely thought about them anymore. I was too busy building an actual life. A year later, I was promoted to senior marketing manager, a whole year ahead of schedule. Rebecca called me into her office on a Tuesday morning, and I thought I was in trouble for something. Madison, in my 15 years here, I've never seen someone adapt and excel the way you have. You're getting the promotion, the salary bump, and your own team. I literally cried in her office. Happy tears, grateful tears, holy shit, I actually made it tears. That weekend, I decided to do something I'd been putting off. I drove back to my college town, not to see my family, but to visit Mrs. Peterson, my old math teacher who'd defended me on social media. She was exactly the same, warm, brilliant, and completely unsurprised by my success. You know, she said over coffee, I always knew you'd do something amazing. You had this quiet determination that reminded me of myself when I was your age. You never seemed like you doubted yourself, Mrs. Peterson. Oh, honey, I was the first person in my family to go to college. My parents thought I was getting above myself by becoming a teacher. Sometimes the people who are supposed to support us the most are the ones who hold us back. We talked for hours about family, success, and what it means to build your own definition of worth. As I was leaving, she handed me a card. I got this for you when you graduated, but never had the chance to give it to you after your speech went viral. Inside, she'd written, Madison, you were never the backup child. You were always the one I knew would change the world. Don't let anyone dim your light. I cried all the way back to Chicago. The truth is, I never got an apology from my parents. Savannah never acknowledged how cruel she'd been. They still tell people I'm going through a phase or that I overreacted. But you know what? I don't need their validation anymore. I have a career I love, friends who genuinely care about me, and for the first time in my life, I wake up every day knowing that I matter. Not as someone's sister, not as a backup plan, but as Madison Parker, a person worthy of love, respect, and success. The backup child became the main character of her own story, and honestly, it's a pretty damn good story. To anyone out there who's ever felt like the spare, the afterthought, the one who doesn't quite fit, your time is coming. You don't need anyone's permission to shine. You don't need anyone's approval to be worthy. Sometimes the best revenge is just living your best life, and trust me, I'm living mine. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything to me. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories that'll make you laugh, cry, and maybe inspire you to speak your own truth. Remember, you're never just the backup. You're the main character waiting for your moment to shine.